So guys, the next topic I really want to jump into is the Game Awards. And I'm just going to ask a question. Is the Game Awards reflective of gaming or just too Hollywood? Yeah. Now, kind of, I asked that question because obviously I watched the Game Awards, and to a degree I kind of enjoyed the Game Awards. But then, after the show was over, you kind of like follow the regular news cycle, and there was a lot of negativity around it. There was a lot of negativity around it. Yeah. Now, I personally feel that gaming and video games need something. Yeah. They need a credible award show. Yeah. In my view, they need live events. They need something like an E3 or a Gamescom, kind of a gaming festival. I think as gamers we should both want and demand that. Yeah. Want and demand. But the Game Awards in its current format, is it really where we want gaming to be represented in terms of an award show? Right? So I just want to get your thoughts on that, guys. So, Al, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what did you think of it?
So I've only watched snippets. I didn't watch the full thing, and I think maybe it's because I've watched it in the past, and it is like you say. It just feels a bit too Hollywood, and feels a bit pre-scripted. It's all, it's almost like for non-gamers to an extent. It's just, I just feels like they could do so much better in terms of the content, and I don't know how the voting systems work or how it actually comes out with the results and stuff, but yeah, I don't know. It's for me, it's too Hollywood.
Joe, how about you? What was your feeling on it?
I mean, I'm the same as Al there. I mean, I just generally tend to ignore it, but I can see how for the more casual gamers, it just gives them sight of a game they've not thought about, particularly some of the indie games. And I just generally think it's a good thing to have, right? It's just more advertising of gaming is a good thing, but for anybody in the hardcore kind of gaming space, right, it is too cheesy, but it's got a place. Is basically where I'm at. If it had more reveals of good games coming out, then maybe I would be a bit more interested. But I think. I mean, I think it's going to be here to stay, and it's good for developers to get recognised. I just wish they would do something a bit more interesting with it. Like, for example, have a couple of games that the community selects and votes for, and then the Game Awards funds the game further or something like that, and then get a couple of indies on there. Just do something a little bit more creative.
That's an interesting take on it, actually.
Yeah, something a bit more interactive with the community. But I mean, my interaction with it, I always just have a quick scan of, are there any games on there that I want to put on my radar? And so yeah, that's kind of where my initial kind of thoughts are on it. It's, if you think from a developer perspective, you blood, sweat, and tears to go into certain games, and all games, in fact, even if it doesn't review well, it's hard being an engineer, right? An artist. So people getting recognised for that, I think, is a very positive thing, and they should always keep going, even if it loses the kind of the if it doesn't become a public-facing kind of awards thing, because it loses all of the advertising support. I still think they should have some sort of awards ceremony kind of thing for developers, right? And so net, it's a positive thing.
I mean, I did watch it, and I think at the time I kind of enjoyed parts of it, facets of it. I did think it was a bit advertisement heavy, and there was some really throwaway parts to it where you had, I think, a couple of streamers on their phones going about the show, And I don't know what they were doing. They were just doing stuff. It was just so throwaway. I really, I just said, this is just felt like a total waste of time. And they tried to make it a little bit entertaining. I think they had Imagine Dragons or something come in and do a cover of a video game kind of soundtrack or something. I can't even remember what the game was. So they've tried to make it a little bit more entertaining. But I would say, do you think, let's say, as a developer, you would want to win something at the Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, or would you much rather have a BAFTA? I mean, what do you think is more credible? Because I'm just wondering,
It's clearly the BAFTA, isn't it? But
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Gaming is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I think it's going to go to heights and levels of polish that we can't comprehend now. And like if I like to bring it back to Destiny, Destiny, Bungie's deal with Sony wanting to make TV shows, and The Last of Us being put together, the new Halo. I've recently watched the Sonic the Hedgehog with my kids. This stuff is getting much, much better, and the Games Awards can potentially can reach that sort of level, right? As you get the new generation that don't care about the BAFTAs. This is in the right place to kind of launch that level, but it's probably not. Well, it's nowhere near that level at the moment. So yeah, it's like I said before. It's good. It could be better. I just another idea is get some demo games going with the winners. Like just drive some more engagement. It's just a net win for everybody.
But they're kind of worried, right? This is the problem, right? If you think of something like Cyberpunk, if they actually released a demo, can you imagine the uptake would have been even less? They would have lost a horrendous amount of money because it was just broken.
No, so what I mean is that these are awards for games that are already released. So now we talked about the version of Sony's Game Pass where they might give people 10 hours of a game that's already released, unlimited access. Why not do it for the winners in each category? They'll get more sales out of it.
Oh, okay. It's kind of a bit of free marketing and engagement. Yeah. I can see how that would work.
Yeah, and I guess the awards are an interesting one where it depends on what market of consumers you're going after, because there will be casual gamers that probably agreed with some of the categories that are on there. And I think for more hardcore gamers, they potentially get stuck in a niche anyway. You'll get stuck in certain games and you may not touch these other things. And you may question what those awards are about. So, it probably just depends on what it's going for.
Well, I actually don't think they did too badly in terms of nominations and who actually won the awards. I think to be honest, the winners felt very reflective of gaming press, because a few of the winners would be kind of games that have done extremely well in terms of scores, Metacritic, really kind of like, I think, highly rated games, that have got a lot of positive press. I mean, their game of the year was It Takes Two from EA, and that game has got a lot of positive reviews. It's really well liked. Best narrative was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, I think. And again, that game is actually, again, being kind of reviewed really highly, and the narrative of the game is meant to be excellent. This isn't no Avengers. This is, it's a victim of the Avengers because it's probably being kind of like put in the same bucket, right? But it's actually a far superior game, yeah. And what other kind of things can I call out? Let's have a look here. Yeah, you'll laugh at this, Al. Best mobile game. Genshin Impact, of course.
Well, there's a huge meme that came off the back of it. I think I told you about it, right? They mispronounced the name when they announced it. Yeah, Genshin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Genshin Impact. And basically, loads of people on, that play Genshin, they changed the G to a J.
Genshin Impact. Yeah, that part was actually quite horrible. Yeah. But again, I mean, like, these are very credible winners, is what I'm trying to say. Right, and it's very reflective of gaming press, and I imagine it's actually kind of quite reflective of hardcore gamers. I mean, best action game was, I think, Returnal. Hard as you like, action game. Yeah.
Have you guys played that?
No, not yet. I'm planning to.
It looks good. I just don't want to pay £50 for it.
Yeah, but it's going to be a bit of a killer in terms of the difficulty levels is actually quite high.
Yeah.
It's not an easy game, from what I hear.
But it's not. I don't think it's quite Soulsborne type game, do we? Right?
I've heard it's extremely hard. It's a roguelike. Yeah. Shoot 'em up. Bullet hell. Third person game. Hard.
Yeah. I don't think it's meant to be as hard as let's say Elden Ring or any other Souls type game.
I've heard it's hard.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard it's
okay.
Yeah, it's not something to be scoffed at. I mean, it's I've heard it's pull your hair out type of hard. If you give it a shot, see how it goes. But I mean, don't take it lightly. Is what I've heard about it. I mean, think about it. A bullet hell, roguelike, third person game. Yeah. Bullet hell and roguelike.
Probably just depends if you're losing progress. That's the key.
Yeah.
I mean, roguelike, technically you're supposed to restart.
Pretty much.
Tops, you have something.
Pretty much. Pretty much that's how what you described is pretty much how it works. Yeah.
Are there any games that stand out to you guys that were surprised you, or any games that you saw, you were kind of vaguely interested in, they've won an award, and you think, oh, well, maybe I'll give that a go. Was there anything in those tours?
Don't think so. I wouldn't say so, but it's one of the reasons I say no is because I follow the news cycle, I follow the review cycles, so a lot of what I'm seeing here seems to kind of like track against that index, if you like, of the kind of like video games press. So none of this is a great surprise. I think I'll say there's one slight surprise, and that was it Kenna Bridge of Spirits? Basically Ember Labs won Best Independent Game. So that was a little surprising. It's a Sony exclusive, Sony PlayStation exclusive, also on PC. So that was a little surprising, yeah, but not massively surprising. And Final Fantasy one, I think it's Final Fantasy 14, right? One best ongoing game, yeah.
Yeah, but those, I mean, Final Fantasy 14 has done a great job, but if you look at the nominations that went into it, they're very broad mainstream type. So you've got like Fortnite in there, you've got Call of Duty Warzone, Apex Legends, Genshin Impact is in there too. So it's like,
yeah. Well,
if I was to choose out of those, then yeah, Final Fantasy 14. But I probably would have chosen other games.
Yeah, but where's Destiny? Where's Warframe?
Where's your Warframe?
God,
exactly.
God damn it! I mean, that's an insult.
Destiny. Yeah, I mean, Destiny. I don't. It's not consistent enough to be in there, is it? I mean, I think where they're heading, I think is getting better. But as much as I love that game, and I would rather play that over any other games in that list. I don't think it deserves to be on there.
Or games like Terraria, Stardew Valley, and I mean they get so much support for such a small indie developer. If you talk about best ongoing game, that I think has a good challenge.
But I think maybe the Game Awards kind of fill the gap where it's almost trying to be an Oscars, if you know what I mean. And whereas maybe what you're talking about, Al, is something a bit more akin to the Cannes Film Festival, where you got arty films there, so that's more about the craft, perhaps. Yeah. This is somewhat different, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean
it does make.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like to me it's like, because if you take those categories, best ongoing, but it has to be best ongoing and mainstream. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I mean, there's nothing in any of these categories in the nominations or the winners that strike you as let's say niche
Hmm.
or underground or not truly indie, right?
But they do have a category, best independent game.
Yeah, but that could mean a lot of things, right? Independent game, I'm out. Some independent studios these days are quite big. You know what I mean? They're not, independent because they haven't got their publisher. You know, so just stuff like that. But yeah, it does speak. It does speak to it being a little bit more mainstream and popular. A little less about maybe the craft. There are no kind of games that are like your in game. Only a specific crowd would know about them. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, like a cult classic
Yeah,
kind of
there's
game.
nothing.
Something. Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
I just two questions about two games on the list that Guilty Gear Strive got award for best fighting game. Have you guys played that
Yep.
one? I
Yep, I have.
remember. Is it any good?
Yeah, the Guilty Gear series is consistently good. Yeah,
Okay.
and Arch System Works is considered one of the premier, fighting game studios. I mean, it's probably mentioned in the same breath as Capcom. And Capcom have obviously got Street Fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I just remember playing the old version like years ago, and it used to be really good. And
Yeah, it's still good. Yes, Guilty Gear is still good, and I think Arch System Works also did the Dragon Ball beat 'em up, one of the recent ones, and that was an excellent game. Also, that was an excellent beat 'em up. So that's no surprise to me. I mean, Arch System's really well known. I mean, and again, it's Guilty Gear Strive doesn't it's not gonna sell like a COD
Tekken
or
or a-
your Tekken or a Street Fighter. Amongst the people who know about fighting games, it's well known, and Arch System Works is kind of like well known also.
the graphics look pretty good. I'm just watching a clip of it now. Is it something that they have lots of fighters and lots of DLC or?
Yeah, they do have the DLC. It usually starts off with quite a full roster, it's
Yeah.
Guilty Gear, and the combat mechanics are fairly deep as well. That's for sure. Definitely worth a play on some recent Guilty Gears if you haven't played them.
Sure, and there was the other game that was Tales of Arise. That seems to be popped up quite a lot.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't played it, but I think there's a whole. Is it a franchise? I think so. I mean, there's more than one
There's
Tales.
a Tales.
Yeah, game.
Yeah. I was gonna say also the best family game went to It Takes Two as well, but I thought It Takes Two has some pretty dark narrative in there. From what I've seen on some streams, I was like,
Yeah, I've heard it has, but if you look at it, it's also kind of it has a look to it, doesn't it? It must be why it's got the vote.
Yeah, but best family game?
Well, I don't know.
Playing it.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, can you ignore that stuff?
No, you could probably get the kids might have nightmares.
I think we should conclude this conversation, but I think to conclude, certainly in my humble opinion, the Game Awards is certainly getting a little bit more Hollywood. Is it reflective of gaming? It's certainly reflective of gaming press, because to me there's no surprises on who won, who was nominated. I think it's fairly consistent. But I think this
Jeff Keighley's good as well. I like.
yeah, he's definitely good. He's a good ambassador for the industry, and he's a good ambassador for video games, which we all love, and I think obviously I think long may that continue, really, because I think
Yeah.
the more I feel events, shows that try to celebrate gaming, that try to push it or nudge it further into the mainstream or the public eye, the better. Yeah, and I think really this may not be the celebration of and I don't really necessarily like to call video games as art, but I like to call video games as craft. Yeah, there's a craft to making a video game. I think we still need something like along those lines. That really acknowledge the craft of making a video game. I think there's a place for the kind of Game Awards. Definitely a place for it. I just wish they'd have, a whole lot less kind of advertisements in the middle of them. Yeah, work on that, but it's like there's certainly a place for it in the industry, in video games.
And I think, PS, the VR stuff, Metaverse, all the rest of that, never know where this could go. You could award ceremony where you're in the kind of the like some sort of virtual reality, and you can
why not?
Go and watch the games, and see people, crowds gathering around. It has potential, right, to go way beyond the kind of film awards, and so I feel lucky that we have something reasonably robust, well respected to build upon, and like I say, Jeff Keighley at the helm, who seems to have influence. I mean, let's just face it, right? It's really easy to do a really cheesy award show, right? It's polished to this, right?
It's polished. It is polished, and he's a good ambassador for the industry.
I heard he's quite hands-on. Yeah, I heard he's quite hands-on in crafting the whole thing as well, right? So
I think he strikes me as a person that cares about what he's doing, and he's a gamer. The guy's a proper gamer,
Yeah, exactly.
He's just not in this because it's his bread and butter. He actually games quite a bit, from what I can see. So, you know what? Long may that continue. Jeff, keep on trucking. And guys, with that said and done, let's move on to our next topic.